and the hotel suite he swore was empty. The calendar square arrived at 6:07 p.m. as neat as a reservation card. Investors dinner, Meridian Hotel, late. 2 minutes later, Evan texted, "Don't wait up." Management asked me to peek at the HVAC controls in the penthouse after speeches. Proud of me. Read he spends the heart when the rest of the sentence wants diplomatic immunity. I turned the pasta water down to the kind of simmer that calls itself maturity and looked out over the district. The hotel's glass ribs glowed against the dusk. Pretending elegance is the same as honesty. The square on my phone pulsed once and then behaved. I rinsed an already clean spoon because sometimes unnecessary is the only honest verb available. At 6:25, a number I didn't recognize sent a message that recognized me anyway. If the dinner, in the ballroom, why did he just badge the penthouse suite? Service stare off the garage. Reader hates witnesses, cover it and lean. I can hold sweep 2 minutes. Signed with a single letter, M, as if the alphabet had leaned against a catering cart and promised not to squeak. Mark runs nights for the hotel the way a discreet man runs a secret. Early, thorough, never seen. He and Evan trade competence in a dialect of locks and silence. He and I have shared 2 cigarettes beside the loading bay, and once a laugh sharp enough to make a camera pan like glass wanted to rehearse. We have not touched. I remember not touching more clearly than most men remember vows. "Why tell me?" I wrote. "Because your calendar is polite and my badge logs aren't," he sent. Because he looked up before he swiped. People only look up there when they want oxygen. Because empty is keep out, the way champagne is hydration. The garage stair smelled of bleach and asphalt. I covered the reader's red eye with my palm and leaned. The lock remembered mercy and gave way. The stair coiled upward into air that had learned secrecy. By the time the hall opened, the carpet was heavy with money's perfume. He was where Mark said he'd be. By the curtain wall, jacket off, shirt open 1 button past credible, tie folded into his pocket like a plausible denial. Opposite him leaned Adrian Shore, developer, board vice chair, roomer with a townhouse and a yacht. 2 of Adrian's fingers rested on the minibar, idling. The other hovered near Evan's wrist without landing, because proximity photographs better than contact when your brand buys sweets and invoices discretion. "Empty looks conversational," I said. Evan turned. For a beat the truth used his face like glass before it reflects. Then the public version arrived, posture light, every trick he has learned for rooms that clap for themselves. "Daniel," he said, how did." "Mark likes nouns," I said. "I like doors." Adrian smiled the way donors smile when they mistake ownership for virtue. "We were reviewing climate control," he said. "Patrons delight in the machinery of comfort." "I prefer comfort that doesn't need an audience," I said. Evan took 1 step toward me and let the suite keep the second. "We were listening for a leak in the vent," he said. He wanted to hear the air without speeches. "Sound is persuasive," Adrian said, opening both hands like tasteful parentheses. 2 minutes. The sweep is punctual, my driver is indulgent. He drifted toward the credenza and studied his reflection as if glass owed him flattery. As he passed, 2 fingers tapped Evan's shoulder, punctuation, not possession. Evan watched me the way men watch weather when they hope thunder has chosen another block. "I was going to text you," he said, lower now, the register he keeps for mornings and the soft under my jaw. "After. I wanted to know I could leave this room without letting it rename me." "You wanted to be caught," I said. "Not punished, caught." He let 1 breath out and the drape shifted as if it wanted to memorize us. "Yes." There is a height at which grammar resigns. I stepped into his space and put my mouth on his because windows deserve honesty and nights deserve witnesses. He kissed back with the relief of a man who has been paying interest on restraint, compounded nightly by applause and pretense. He tasted like gala bourbon and air-conditioning dust. My thumb found the hinge of his jaw and pressed. He made the small, involuntary sound I keep receipts for. His palm slid under my shirt and settled flat between my shoulder blades like a promise that refuses notarization. We didn't undress. The suite charges extra and cameras learn quickly. He broke the kiss first because he knows the exact second heat applies for narrative. He put his forehead to mine. The vent exhaled politely like it had been waiting for our consent. "I didn't kiss him," he said. "I wanted to want to. I texted Mark." "You did," I said. "He prefers oxygen to salvage." Adrian tilted his head with the tidy curiosity of a man who thinks velvet will excuse him. He didn't approach. The suite dimmed the lights without needing his applause. "Come home," Evan said. "After I thank the person who hears doors," I said. Mark waited where the suite gives itself back to the service hall, lanyard looped over 2 fingers, patience of a man who can make marble forgive. He didn't smile. He also didn't make mercy expensive. "Sweep hits the penthouse in 90, he said. "If you don't want to explain your lives to a flashlight that knows your shoes, take the catering stair down to laundry, cut through linens, out by the delivery dock. The dock cam believes every cart is a cart." "You sent the message," I said. "I opened a door," he said. "You two remembered how to walk." The laundry smelled like steam negotiating with fatigue. The dock was wet with rain that refused to take sides. We chose sidewalks over lobbies because lobbies write captions. At home, the pasta forgave me for mistaking patience for character. We ate standing, like mammals who know where the bowls live. He told me Adrian had been sculpting a compliment into a proposition for weeks, and he had helped because selection feels like love when usefulness empties your pockets. I told him Mark had texted because some people choose air over alibi. He didn't ask whether Mark and I had ever been a worse idea. I didn't say how a red exit sign turns Mark's mouth into punctuation that finally understands itself. We didn't fight. There wasn't theater left to sell. Later, in bed, we left a sliver of cool like a reservation and then let it surrender because the night had already billed us for restraint. He kissed me with the steadiness I trust more than policy. I put my mouth where his jaw goes humble and told it a morning. It was heat without spectacle. The building minded its plumbing. The city rehearsed forgetting our names, and we encouraged it. Morning behaved. Coffee made its case. The calendar square for tonight stayed blank, which in this city is the kink we can afford. Evan tied a tie over a throat I intend to retire with patience and kissed me like the door already knew our names. He left to explain comfort to a breakfast that confuses marble with truth. At 9:12, a text arrived from a number saved as one letter. No suite cam saw anything but drapes. I looped a filter test for 20. Consider it training. I sent, "You're very proud of your training." He replied, "I'm proud of your exit." No punctuation correct. By noon, a society blog posted Adrian framed in champagne light, captioned with stewardship and heritage. I scrolled past. It wasn't our room. At 1:19, Evan texted a picture of our kitchen plant basking in a modest square of sun. "Room exists," he wrote. The week pretended to be a ledger you could trust. Adrian sent a revised pledge with fewer adjectives and more commas. Evan read to the part where commas became a harness and set it aside. He pressed his forehead to my temple for 7 slow counts. The air remembered its work. 2 nights later, the hotel hosted Night of Comfort. Honest wristbands, real families, children learning that service corridors keep the world alive. We went together, because sometimes the correct grammar is plural. Mark nodded once from a shadow like an usher who knows better than applause. Adrian shook Evan's hand while a photographer tried to make chandeliers confess. A reporter asked about legacy. Evan pointed to a porter kneeling to show a boy how to fold linen without scolding and said, "Legacy is what keeps rooms gentle." And the reporter wrote it down like she'd earned a truth. On the walk home, we cut along the canal where lights kept auditioning to be secrets. Evan slid 2 fingers into my back pocket in the way that says not mine but here, and the knight did the decent thing and looked away. We burned the garlic bread and ate it anyway. At the bedroom door, he kissed me the way good sentences land, without ornament, unavoidable. I answered as if verbs were the last honest currency. It did not stay tidy. It never does here. An anonymous account posted a grainy still from the service hall, 2 silhouettes near a window, one hand too near to be polite. The caption invented entanglement, the comments rented outrage and billed by the breath. I set my phone face down beside the plant and watched the plant win. Evan texted a different image. The laundry dock at noon, Mark showing a teen volunteer how to check a filter while a pressure gauge confessed contentment. "Our version works for a living," he wrote. Sunday arrived with rain that had memorized every sill. Mark texted, "Sweet is quiet. Want a stool where nobody sells you a seat?" We went. He poured us paper cups of coffee that tasted like competence and showed us which relay lies first, why you never trust a door that apologizes, and the faint shift in airflow that means the motor wants kindness. He didn't flirt with anything, not even the truth. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets and told us a joke about rich men who think silence is a metaphor. I liked him better for refusing to be necessary when he didn't need to be. Midweek, the foundation staged a press moment to announce scholarships for hospitality apprentices. Evan spoke first, about bolts and volunteers and the joy of maintenance, the only speech that ages correctly. Adrian promised to help the city meet its hours on time, a sentence that managed to spend nothing and still collect applause. After, he shook Evan's hand and then looked at me with the careful respect of a man evaluating whether he cannot purchase. "You're both very good at exits," he said. "Practice," I said. He laughed because it was the only honest thing left on his card. A columnist with an adjective habit suggested Evan's access came courtesy of private tour. The piece included a photo of glass that could have been any glass and a paragraph that could have been any rumor. The comments did their choreography. I carried the plant to the sink and let water talk to its roots like a promise we could keep. That night, we turned our phones face down and cooked like people who still believe heat tells the truth. On a windy Thursday, Mark sent a single word, weather, and we met him by the delivery dock where rain negotiates with stone. He showed us which drain floods first, where to stand when lightning tries on a skyline, and how to hear the nearly silent hesitation that means a breaker will miss its cue without kindness. He didn't ask about the photo. We didn't say his name out loud. 3 people wide beneath marble that had decided to be gentle, we let the storm remove adjectives we didn't need. Life kept refusing to be purchased. Adrian kept sending commas that wanted homes. Evan kept returning them with better ones. The plant kept inventing a shade of green that turns vanity domestic. We kept our calendar squares blank on purpose, because blanks are the only promises rooms respect. Sometimes, near midnight, we walk past the hotel and look up. From the street you can't see the hand that hovered without landing, or the small, decent posture of a man who teaches heavy air to be gentle. You can only see a disciplined glow pretending not to belong to anyone. That's as it should be. We circle the block and go home without letting the building perform at us. He takes my wrist like a man reteaching himself the grammar of doors. I think about the suite and the 2 minutes that were enough, about how some rooms try to own you and others teach you how to leave correctly. Sometimes I think about Adrian paused by a curtain wall like a man who wants to buy air and discovering it doesn't invoice. Sometimes I think about Mark's line, "I opened a door," and how it's the only biography I want for this version of us. Tonight's square is empty. We're leaving it that way. Let the hotel keep its chandeliers and the city its applause. We have the delivery dock, a plant we refuse to let die, and the quiet grammar of a decision that knows where it belongs. Not in the rumor, not in the photo, but in the mouth that learned to say come home and mean it. If we get caught again, let it be by each other. The rest of the world can rehearse spectacle. We'll be in the room that doesn't need it, counting breaths until they sound like an HVAC settling into kindness, and a morning we can afford, and calling that enough.